Did I freeze? Good job, Mike. So hi, everybody. I know most of you know who I am, and for those who don't, which may be actually Francis, you may not, I'm Agnes Fife. I am on Livable Sunnyvale's board, and I am one of two vice chairs, and Chuck Fraley is the other vice chair, and he will be presenting later this evening. And I'm sitting here instead of Angela because, as someone had mentioned, she's in New York and has really bad Wi-Fi. So in keeping with Angela's format, I want to start the meeting by asking a question, and you can put your answer in the chat. Who is your favorite poet? Ah, is anybody going to put anything in the chat? Let's see. I don't see anything yet.
Ogden Nash.
Okay, I'm going to put mine in there. Oh, Pablo Neruda. Good call. Good call. Oh, Shel Silverstein. Oh, that's my youngest child's favorite. In fact, I just got a whole bunch of books from the attic, and two of his, or a box of books from the attic, and two of his were in there for Rebecca. Very nice.
Came up with one.
You did, and it wasn't Robert Frost, as you mentioned the other day. Robert who? Oh, excellent. Oh, come on, Angus. It's not that subjective. Wow, look at all these people.
Well, I think it's completely subjective, but that's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being subjective. We don't all have to have non-subjective interests. Oh, nice. Oh, Amanda Gorn, yes. Very nice. Well, look at all of us. Aren't we the astute group tonight? Okay, so I wanted to welcome our elected officials, Richard Mellinger and Linda Sell. And if there is anything you would like to share with us about what is happening upcoming in council, speak now.
Linda, you got anything? You go first.
Well, it was an exciting meeting, our last meeting, and we were able to pass a motion to give Sunnyvale Community Services $4 million. We paid off their mortgage so that they wouldn't have to live under the undependability of some, bank that might call their loan. But any really good investment for Sunnyvale, really good investment for and really good way to help Sunnyvale Community Services. So that was exciting.
Absolutely. Excellent. And that is going to be redirecting, that's taking $18,000 a month off their books. That's going to go straight back into the community. So I'm pulling up the TC Mac here just to see if there's anything that might be of interest to this organization coming up soon. So one thing, next week, there's going to be a discussion on awarding a contract on the long-term operation and maintenance of the Orchard Heritage Park and reviewing the proposed expansion of the Sunnyvale Heritage Museum. Let's see here. Lakewood Park discussion is going to be Tuesday, October 24th, as well as art for City Line. And then November 14th, we will be considering a rezoning of a site on South Wolf from R0, low density residential, to low medium density residential. So you can check all of that out. And
so where on South Wolf is it, Richard?
If you know the really, really big house that's just got on south facing Wolf with the giant yard, it's like a triple lot. Drive down Wolf, you'll see it.
Oh, I drive down Wolf all the time.
It's 781 South Wolf.
Okay.
But it's this very, very large house with a very, very large yard that it looks like they're talking about, doing townhouses or something. So
Okay.
And sorry, Richard, you're rezoning from what? R1 to,
R0 to low, medium density residential, whatever that is. And so I have not read the reports on it yet. I haven't seen anything. I have not made any determination on this, but it's the sort of thing that Livable Sunnyvale has historically been interested in.
and you said there was a Lakewood Park discussion on the 24th?
Yes, that's October 24th is a discussion on Lakewood Park.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, you went very fast, and I'm trying to get this down for the minutes, so. And before that, you had mentioned something else other than
I think it's all on the recording, actually.
well, okay.
I
I
don't
will
want to
defer to
delay
the
things
recording.
further.
So Francis, did you have any announcements for any groups that you're involved with that you'd want to share?
No, I'm just coming in with a friend of mine, Rita Welsh. We go to St. Thomas Episcopal Church, and I've been to 1 or 2 meetings before, and I'm interested in knowing what your group does.
Excellent. Well, welcome. I hope you find our meeting informative tonight.
Thank you.
And Peggy, are you going to give us an update?
Sure. Hi. So Sunnyvale for Equity and Education has an in-person meeting at the El Dorado Mobile Home Park on October 14th at 2 o'clock, 2 to 4. And the Fremont Union High School District, their first mapping meeting, their public hearing will be on October 17th, Tuesday. Translation in Spanish is only available on Zoom, not in person.
Thanks, Peggy. And Mike, you're on the Planning Commission. Do you have anything you would want to announce for us?
At our last meeting, there was a planning session on that weird plot of land in the corner of the Costco parking lot. So it was just a study session, so there was no vote. It'll come back, but it's an interesting project. The rezoning you were just talking about on Wolf will be at the Planning Commission next Monday. And there's another project that was a previous study session on, actually it's the opposite corner of Kiefer and Lawrence at Kiefer and close to Sonora Court. It's kind of just in back of the Sonora Court buildings. So at the next Planning Commission meeting on Monday.
Well, Crystal, welcome. And Crystal is with the Sustainability Commission. Do you have any announcements you want to make for them?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. This is not for the Sustainability Commission, but it is sustainability related. There is a electric home tour on Saturday, October 14th. It's from 10 to 4. And there are 40 homes from South Morgan Hill up to all up the peninsula to South San Francisco. And the tour is free. If you're interested in looking at what other homeowners are doing for electrifying their homes and getting off of gas, it's a great opportunity. You can register. It's free, but you have to register. So it's electrichometour.org. And I'm excited to say that my home is on the tour. So
Nice.
come see.
Nice.
After you register, you can see, or even before you register, you can see online the different homes that they have. Mine's called Blue House on the Corner at Biscayne. So just as a FYI. So I hope everybody can check it out and hope to see you on the 14th.
Excellent.
So Crystal, the notice I got said this was invitation only. So I was hesitant to, send an e-blast out to any organization without somebody's permission.
Yeah, so there is a VIP version of the tour, and that has been offered to Planning Commission and Sustainability Commission. I think all the commissions probably, and council members. So that's the VIP version is invitation only. But the home tour itself, yeah, please promote and spread the word widely.
Okay.
And I am with the Arts Commission, and I did send an email out, I think last week, about an event that we're having, as I had mentioned, in celebration of the National Arts and Humanities Month, which is always held in October. So if anyone would like to participate in this event, all you need to do is put together let me go back a little bit. We're having 3.5 by 3 foot canvases, and people are going to be asked to put their artwork on that canvas, and it will be hung in Washington Park, where the playground is. And so what I'll do is I'll put something in the chat about this, and if you're interested in participating, please do. It's a second year in a row that Sunnyvale community has done this. So any more announcements before we move on to our first speaker?
Sunnyvale commissions are having applications, are accepting applications, and our opening is Housing and Human Services Commission and Heritage Preservation Commission. And I'll put the information in the link.
Oh, good. Thanks, Linda. I forgot about that. Thank you. Okay, going once, twice. Any more announcements? All right, so we're going to move on now to our first speaker, who we are welcoming back, and Isabel Jubes Flamerich, which I'm sure I just totally destroyed your name. Oops, you're on mute.
It was kind of good, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, okay. So for those of you who had not met Isabel before, she is a proud mom of 2 sons. She teaches architecture. She is also on the president of the Sunnyvale School District, and she is a recent graduate of Leadership Sunnyvale, which is how Chuck and I first met her. So Isabel is going to talk about a meeting that happened last week about Hamlin Court, what we can do for a call to action, and also some residents had voiced concern about not being heard for some of the issues that their children were facing in the Sunnyvale School District. So if Isabel can comment on that, then she will as well. So the screen is yours, Isabel.
Okay, I'm gonna share the presentation. Oh, can I? Yeah, I need to be able to share if I can. Host disabled participant screen.
Oh, okay. I thought I knew. All right.
Okay, now I can. Okay. Okay, then how can I share that? Okay, share. Geez, text I suppose. Sorry for that. Okay. Oh, allow some, yeah.
Oh, you put in the clock.
Oh, geez. Yes. Wait, I'm just, yeah, but I think my computer is new and then it's not, wait, later. Oh,
You have to tell it you want to share twice for some reason.
yeah, I'm doing it again. Yeah, because the computer is new, so everything is asking me for permission.
There you
As
go.
it's the first time. There you go. Okay. Okay, this percent. So I'm gonna go a little bit quick for the first 5 slides that I did before, because also last time we couldn't see the video, the 5-minute video, and then I'm gonna spend a little bit more on the 2 or 3 new things that happened since then. So this is our presentation tonight is going to be about the living conditions and on-site services for unhoused family in Sunnyvale, who are right now just in a congregated shelter that the city had, that used to have only for during the big weather, during the winter. It was a winter, who now they have enough funds to be opening during the whole year. That just happened after COVID. So now is also open to families, which is I mean, at least they have a place to go, but it's also a low barrier place that is open for anyone who may need it, doesn't matter whatever the conditions, and it's not the ideal place to have children. So why does it matter? Well, about when we started looking at this problem, we were also starting to see a lot of issues with this because it's not a very welcoming space or a healthy space for children. So one of the things that we can talk about is that something called adverse childhood experience, which are linked to chronic health problem, mental illness, substance abuses, a lot of other issues that will come later if a kid is in that environment, in an environment where, you know, you can have in the same a big warehouse in the same line of cots, another guy who is drunk or is under the influence, or he is having a mental health breakdown and is just taking out his clothes or her clothes. So it's not a healthy environment to have a 2-year-old living, or a 5 or a 6 or any sort of family environment in the same space. So that's one of the urgencies we have here in Sunnyvale, and why we need to have a new place. So this is, well, we thought it will be very important for us to see this video now that we are, hopefully everybody can see it today.
A child's experiences early in life are important building blocks for the developing brain.
You're hearing
Genes, nature, are
Yeah,
like the
it's fine
blueprint.
now.
They provide the basic framework for brain development. However, genes do not design the brain completely. Environmental influences, nurture, fine-tune how the brain works by shaping which brain connections get used. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent, whereas ones that do not get much use fade away. Together, genes and the environment build the foundation for all future development. Safe, stable, and nurturing relationships early in life lead to healthy development. But children's brains capture other experiences as well. Stressful events. However, not all stress is bad. Positive stress involves normal childhood experiences, like starting daycare or meeting a new person for the first time. This stress is essential for healthy development because it helps children develop coping skills and confidence. But when stress is frequent, chronic, and uncontrolled, it is toxic to children, especially when they do not have a caregiver to provide support or buffer the stress. Adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, such as abuse, neglect, exposure to intimate partner violence, parental depression or addiction, and poverty are toxic stressors which could lead to lifelong changes in learning and behavior. ACEs early in development can impact social, emotional, and cognitive functioning, increased risk-taking behavior such as drinking and substance use, and increased risk of disease, disability, and social problems later in life. The question is, how do adverse childhood experiences impact a lifelong development? One of the most important systems in our body is our stress system. It's activated when we experience stress. We become alert, our heart rate increases, and so do our stress hormone levels, cortisol and adrenaline. Our body is ready to react, what is known as fight or flight. A short period of time after the stress is over, or if a child receives support from a caregiver, the stress response turns off and the body returns to a normal state. Adverse childhood experiences create stress responses that stay active, and without the support of a caregiver, the system has difficulty shutting off completely. This constant and prolonged activation can affect immune system functioning and increase the chances of sickness, infection, and disease. Prolonged activation of stress hormones is also toxic to the brain. Certain areas of the brain are more vulnerable to toxic stress, including the executive center or the brain's control center, an area important for solving complex problems, attention, reasoning, impulsivity, inhibition, and learning. A second area is the emotional center, the brain's alarm system, which is involved in processing and interpreting emotions and the ability to control impulses. The third area is the memory and learning center, the brain's filing cabinet, which plays a major role in learning and the formation and retrieval of memories. Science shows that adverse childhood experiences impact all of these brain centers. Behaviorally, what we begin to see is emotional distress, poor emotion regulation, greater impulsivity, learning difficulties, and physical and mental health problems. More recently, science has begun to look at how ACEs cause changes in gene expression through a process called epigenetics, which helps us understand how nature and nurture interact. Epigenetics causes changes in the way genes work without changing the DNA code itself. This occurs through chemical changes influencing how the code is used. In other words, genes are like the hardware in a computer. They determine the boundaries of what is possible. However, we need an operating system to tell the hardware what to do. Epigenetics is like the operating system directing the function of a gene's DNA hardware. The genes we are born with are the genes that we have for life, but experiences like nutrition, exercise, smoking, stressors, and relationships all affect our biology. Adverse childhood experiences are associated with epigenetic changes related to stress, brain development, cognition, and systems associated with mental and physical health. Changes that happen early in brain development are more likely to be enduring and are possibly passed on to future generations as well. The good news is that positive, supportive relationships at any stage in life can make a difference. However, supporting families and children early on will help prevent many of these negative outcomes. One of the key ingredients for healthy development is having warm, loving, and actively engaged caregivers. This involves promoting serve and return interactions, where caregivers actively and warmly engage with the child, making eye contact, responding to sounds, words, gestures, emotional needs, and sharing experiences like reading and play. Providing programs that support caregivers to strengthen these abilities are the blocks that build healthy foundations for life.
So obviously, house insecurity is one of the things that, give a child a prolonged stress, and living in this condition for the whole family, generates an unhealthy space for kids. So these are our future, possibly our future doctors or nurses or psychologists and everything that we're gonna need right away or in a few years. And instead of that, we are having, we are in danger of just creating a generation of people who are not going to be able to be healthy, supportive member of our community. So it's important for everybody to, help fix this problem. So what we found, we did a research. We went all around the other shelters right here in the county, and we found that there are very nice and nurturing spaces in other towns around the county that are, inside the same building. They have psychologists for the kids. They have daycare, they have social workers that help the parents, educate the children. After school, it's a whole system in order to get the family whole again and being able to go and find a better job or a better stable housing. They help them with the programs. But the thing is that the first option for more kids is to stay in their homeschooling, so it's less traumatizing. So if they are living in Sunnyvale or close to Sunnyvale, they tend to just finish, end to our Hamilton shelter, and that's just not an appropriate place. So as we've been talking about this for quite a few times, in the Hamilton shelter ended up sending the families that were there to a motel, which was a good temporary solution, while we find a better place or a better shelter or funds to have one, which will be our final goal, to have a family shelter here in the town. And they were going to different motels, and actually it's cheaper for the county to send them to one of these motels, because they can negotiate the price, and in one room they get something like $50 or $60 for the family, while on the shelter is more than $50 per person to house. And then if it's a family with 4 or 5 people or more, it can be way more expensive that go to the shelter where they are in a non-healthy environment. So we've been asking with the office of Otto Lee to being able to find a better solution, and he was trying to propose with us a set of minimum standards that will allow, will make it possible to put families in this environment. But then in the last, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, the supervisors decided to bring the kids back to Hamilton. So that's gonna be happening soon. So the kids are gonna go back to the congregated settings. So, well, this is, I think last time I talked a little bit to the group about how we went to the different places and the things that we saw that work. This is the things like, they care for the children. They have like different places where they can grow some food. They can cook their own meals depending on their cultural backgrounds. For some families, it's important to have a little space where they can cook together and eat the meat of the mom. So it's kind of symbolic. So they let them during certain times to actually go and cook their meals. So depending on the different styles, some are private and some are public. Some are paid by the county, some are paid by some charities. But they are out there, and they're very, it can really work very well. So this is part of the solution, that one of the things that we're asking right now is to first remove the children from this type of congregated shelter, or keep them away, send them to keep them on the motels at least, so they are safer there. To create a set of minimum standards to shelter minors and their families that will likely eliminate the housing students in low barrier congregated settings like the one in Hamilton. So if we can, sit and write down the minimum standards that every child who is unhoused should have, it won't allow them to be living in a cot in a warehouse like they are right now. To create a family shelter inside Sunnyvale or in the North County area that will be accessible, and the kids can still go to their own home school until their housing crisis passes, so they can at least stay in their network of friends and support the families. To strengthen communication systems and procedures between emergency shelters and school to ensure that the attendance meet the student needs. And, if we actually, between all these services, we can maintain the communication, we can make sure that the school psychologist and the school social worker will be in contact with the social worker at the shelter, and make sure that we can approach a holistic plan for the children. So this is pretty much what we're asking, that everybody will help us to advocate for that. One, we are trying to negotiate also. There is a possibility to finding funds between other agencies like the ANSA college, and generate some partnership between their student housing and family housing and all the other local organizations, and include the county with this. And in that way, we can work in a setting where we can actually have all these type of services, include students that are studying at the ANSA with as a social workers, or they want to be in nursing, or they want to teach early childhood education, and include volunteers from the high school district, and include a whole set of structure all around the community that will benefit everyone, and include these families as a center of the goal. So, yep, that's pretty much our ask. That is more clear today, I suppose, in this presentation. We put it together originally for our project for Sunnyvale leadership, and this, well, were the four of us. And well, thank you for your time and for your support, and hopefully we can all be together fix this problem with our children.
So Isabel, are you open for some questions now?
Yes.
So I have a question. So I understand that you're asking for the community to help.
Yeah.
And in Livable Sunnyvale, we have what we refer to as a call to action.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do to help? I mean, who do we contact? Do we go? I mean, can you talk a little bit more about that, about what you think we can do to help as an advocacy group?
Yes, we can join and write to Otto Lee, or supervisor, and to the board of supervisors of the county about this issue, and ask them to set a minimum standard of care for children that does not allow them to be on a congregated place. It's pretty much that's the most urgent thing, and of course improve the way how we treat them right now, and give them a whole service approach, but minimum taking them out of the congregated site.
So what could be really helpful if you and Bridget and other people on your team could put together a brief list of what we could include in our emails and discussions with the Board of Supervisors. That could be really helpful, because I can get that out.
Perfect.
To our membership. So if you could send that to me, that would be helpful. And I have another question, and that is, when I attended the meeting about Hamlin Court that the Board of Supervisors held, I was a little confused, because it sounded like staff were putting together provisions to have homework rooms for the kids, but Otto had said that that is not exactly what he was looking for. He was looking for something more along the lines of what you're talking about. Did I interpret that correctly? So staff is going to come back and present another option. Is that true?
Yeah, he wanted to take them out and have, actually he was okay with generating a minimum standard of care, but then they went back in the last meeting and they decided that Hamilton Court was good enough, because then they were gonna fix and they were gonna do a homework group and a little separated area for them to be in the afternoons. But still there is a place where the kids cannot play outside because they just play in the parking lot, for example. And it's a place that doesn't have any outdoor spaces for the children. It's a place that they don't have privacy as a family. They don't have ownership of anything because it's in an open space, so they cannot have their toys or things in their bedrooms because they don't have bedrooms. So it's not a safe environment. So they have been using the motels for, I think, a couple of months. But now they're gonna send them back. So, but Otto wanted to be able to negotiate or find another place specific for families that is not Hamilton.
And how feasible do you think that is? Do you have any sense of that?
I think that if we can find the facilities, which I think is getting possible, the county can maintain it.
Okay.
That's what we hear. If we have the facilities between the county and Sunnyvale services, everybody will take care of a little piece and we can and they can maintain it.
Okay. Peggy, you had a question for Isabel?
Yeah, it sounds like you attended as well, that September 19th meeting at the Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to know what the discussion was about that. And did they respond to any of the people advocating for some changes before bringing the families back in? And are there any commitments going forward from the Board of Supervisors?
Agnes? Yeah, I was in a different meeting that night.
Oh,
Bridget went.
I was not quite, in my last question to Isabel, Peggy, I was asking what the real outcome was because I wasn't quite clear what the county supervisors are planning on doing moving forward. I got the impression that what staff suggested wasn't what Otto had in mind, that he wanted something more broad than just places for kids, little cubbies for kids to do homework. So that's why I am asking for more information from both Isabel and Bridget, who worked on this project, to send to all of our members to help with our call to action, to write letters and have a more firm understanding of what we can do as an advocacy group to help. So that's what I got out of it. It wasn't quite what I thought Otto wanted.
Yeah, it's not what he wanted, but it's what we're getting.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot more work to do, Peggy, is probably the answer to the question that you asked. Does that get to kind of what you were looking for?
So I know that they're moving the families back into Hamlin Court, but what changes are they making? I know that there are some minor changes, but they're not sufficient. Do we know anything about what they are doing and any timeline on more?
I can't answer that question, but now can you, Isabel? Because if you can't, I see Richard's hand is raised and
Yes.
Linda's
Maybe
hand.
Richard has more details. I know that they are gonna do like the homework room and they're gonna fix a part, but I don't know all the details. Maybe Richard knows.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Richard,
just for the benefit of our, our members, if it's not clear, Hamlin Court is the North Sunnyvale homeless shelter that, is up there north of the freeway. For anyone who isn't, following this closely, that may not be obvious. This is the Sunnyvale shelter.
So, Richard, did you have something you wanted to add? Oh, you're muted, Richard.
Could you restate the question? But I did have something I wanted to pitch in as well.
Restate
There was
the
a question about the trailer.
That what are exactly the changes? I think that was a question.
Sorry. So
improvements.
to be clear, the city, the Hamlin Court shelter isn't the city, right? That's the county. The city has, very little say over, what can be done there. But one thing I did want to flag is there is an active study issue, CDD 2305, and I'm pulling it up now. Evaluate existing and potential emergency housing and shelter opportunities for families with minor children experiencing homelessness. That title is kind of a bear, but I'm going to drop the link there. And so that is something that the city is also looking into. And that was approved earlier this year in February. And so we're hoping to have that back at some point next summer. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and you can find the details on the city website.
Thanks, Richard. Chuck, you had your hand raised as well.
Yeah, just a quick question on the timeline. I'm not sure if it was asked or covered before. Do we know when they're planning on moving the families back out of the motel and into Hamlin Court? The reason I'm asking is, like, if we're writing letters, when do we need to get those in by so that they get there before everything happens?
I know they're not there yet because they wanted to fix something before they bring them back, but they approved it 2 weeks ago. So I don't think it's probably gonna be soon. So we'll write something this week. for you guys.
Okay. Linda, you have your hand up as well? Oh, you're muted too, Linda.
So I'm trying to understand. So at that Board of Supervisors meeting, when they decided to bring him back, was it like a vote of the 5 supervisors and they voted to bring him back? Or is it something that staff recommended and they didn't object to it? Or how did that come down?
I wasn't in the meeting. I know that they voted that. Were you there, Agnes?
I was at the meeting, but I don't recall. The only thing that I remember from that meeting, and I couldn't stay for the entire time, was that what staff had proposed, and Colleen is asking a question in the chat as well. Are they ignoring Otto's request? I don't know if they were ignoring Otto's request, but what staff had recommended to do was not what was in Otto's plan when he made his initial ask. And staff was going to go back and further research. This is what I got out of it, what Otto was asking for, which was more than just, as I said, places to do homework. So it sounds like somewhere along the lines, and I can't say this for certain, it sounds like there was some communication gap somewhere, because staff is usually pretty good about, it seems to me, coming back with, this is what you asked, and this is what we can do or can't do, usually.
And does it help if these letters also go to the other 5 supervisors or just to Otto?
I think it would be good to send it to everybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then.
So Colleen was also asking, I don't know the answer to this, and maybe you do, Isabel, from the work you and Bridget have done. She says, could you provide the names of the other county family shelters that have adequate facilities to serve families?
Oh, well, I don't remember them by heart, but yes, we do have a list.
Okay, and then if you want to include that in some talking points, we can include in our letters. That would be great.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah.
And one last thing, do we know why they aren't staying in the hotel when that's a more economical thing to do too? And that's a more safer for the kids problem?
Yes.
To add, sorry?
Oh, do we know why they're not allowing the families to stay at the hotel when that seems like, from what you described, the more economical and the more healthy for the kids?
I don't know the real why. They say that they say like, oh, we think that families prefer a place where they are getting more services, but I don't think the families know what is the option is going back to this place, and they are not getting the services they need in this place. And I was talking with Waterford Social Services, the one at Lakewood, on Monday, and she was telling me that the parents say that the kids feel like they are in vacation because in the afternoon they can go to the pool in the motel. So, and they feel safe because they're in a room. So, I mean, it's way less traumatic. They feel like, oh, this is just, some fun thing that we do a little bit for a while. So it's not that bad for them to just be at the motel. That is a different setting that they're going to be doing there.
Should I let her talk about that?
So Colleen is suggesting in the chat that possibly it's because they don't have the opportunity to cook in the motels, that maybe that's one of the reasons they want to get them back.
Yeah, but they cannot cook either in this shelter. I mean, they can cook in other shelters, but not in this one. Maybe they just don't know. When they ask them, you want to go to a place with services? They probably say, yes, of course.
So does anyone have any more questions about this topic? And then we
Rose
can
Gregorio has a raised hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Who?
Yes.
Yes. Rose Gregorio.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to add to the video what happened to the kids, because this is an actual story that I have to share. And in hoping that you'll be able to keep the kids in a stable environment. So I've been volunteering for, I guess, 20 years. And one of the people, the kids, I bring them, I met this mother and son. He was 9 when I met him. And then I have also a nephew at his age. Every now and then I have him stay in my house to play with my nephew when Matthew comes here. And when he was about between 10 and 11, I spent a night here. And this is what the example of what happens to the brain. I found that the bathroom that he was using, he smeared his fecal smear. That's how bad it was. And this is not, I'm not exaggerating. And because I've been helping the homeless and Unhoused for a long time. So, and he was with my nephew, they play. So he uses the bathroom, and that was like years ago. I think he is 17 years old now, and I haven't seen him. That's why the most important thing, I'm sharing you an example that to keep them, what happens to the brain when they don't have a stable environment. That's what happened when the boy was staying here over the weekend. Every now and then he stays in the weekend here with my nephew. One of the nights that he stayed with me, I see fecal smear in my bathroom. I didn't get mad because I understand. I am a registered nurse, and I understand him. And one of the things he did also, he took one of my keys, and then we were in the parking lot, and I went the dog park, and he gave a key to his mom, and he said that he found my key on the parking on the dog park, which is very impossible. So I think he wants also to show that, you know, he's like a little hero of mine, that he found my key. But that was very troubling at this time. And that time, I mean, that I didn't get mad at them. I didn't tell the mom. I don't know if I should have told the mom. I don't want to embarrass the mom. That was years ago. And I've been doing the Unhoused for about 20 years when my kids were still young. And this is exactly what is happening in that video. That's exactly what is happening in their brain. I just want to share it with you. So this is a real example. And I hope you can understand what the video is telling. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, for sharing that lived experience that you've had. Peggy has put some information in the chat as well that if you haven't seen it already, you may want to look at some ideas. And then as soon as Isabel sends me what she and Bridget have put together, I'll make sure that I get that out to all of our members. Isabel, are you also able to talk to some of the issues that the Sunnyvale School District families have spoken about with feeling that they're not heard when they talk with city administrators and teachers? Are there
Sure, what's going on? What exactly is happening?
some of the, and Peggy, you can chime in on this as well, and others that have heard these comments. There were some discussions about bullying where the parents would talk to the administrators and the teachers, and they felt that there was really no action taken. And the reason they felt that was the case was because of a language barrier that they had, because English was not their native tongue. And there was another mom who was speaking about a child of hers that has special needs and did not feel that the special needs were being cared for either. Do you know anything about programs that the Sunnyvale schools
Definitely.
are implementing to make sure that language barriers are not language barriers?
Yes, we do have. Most of our money goes to EL development, in English learning development. I think about, we have something like 4 or 5% have some sort of special needs, but around 20 to 25% of our money goes to special needs. So we cover every sort of special needs children can have, and that's most of, like, it's a big chunk of our budget. We have from kids who needs one-on-one care during the whole day to, you know, just a little bit of help with extra time doing the homeworks, all sort of different spectrum that we can find in the school. So we have classes that are, you know, one-on-one person with 5 kids and 2 or 3 therapists that come during the day. So depending of what is the need. So there is a big, and it's not just from us, it's from the state and it's from the county. The county pays if the parents want to have their children. I mean, if the teachers normally bring it up and then the parents, you need to approve, and then the county will send a specialist to see what are the special needs that the children may need, any of the children may need, and make a case for each of them depending on what their particular needs. And they also come back every 2 years to change it with the, depending if they grow, if they are developing something new, if they, you know, are able to get out of some program and enter to another because they change and they grow and they might evolve. But there are a whole range of special needs, doesn't matter what the language is. So maybe the parent didn't understand what was going on, which is also then a problem from the district not to being able to communicate with the family. And about the bullying is, well, our policies are very serious about bullying in both sides, the aggressor and the victim. But there is something like they are minors that people need to be aware. So if I go and discipline kid number 2, I cannot go to the family of kid number 1 and just make them happy, because this kid number 2 also have rights. So I will discipline this child. I will go and follow up and take them to psychologists, have a special program for this kid to learn to behave. But I cannot just go to the family of kid number 1 and say, hey, we did this and that kid is unstable and that kid is violent and the psychologist say was violent. We cannot do that, because then we are stepping on the legal rights of another minor. So we do take it seriously, but then the other family, or the family of the victim, might want them to hear like, hey, yes, we got him and now he's in trouble. And we cannot do that because it's illegal.
Interesting.
Because they are minors, but we do take it seriously, and even more when, you know, when they are in the attention of the teachers and the administrator. But that's the problem, that bullying and all those kind of things tend to look like that. And we do have, when they come to expulsions or things like that, they come to the board. And again, those are in closed session, and we cannot talk anything that is in closed session outside, because every child has, you know, legal protection.
No,
We cannot just go around telling everybody what we did.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Isabel about this?
Well, on that subject, Isabel, you're talking about what can be done after the fact, after bullying occurs, but what can be done in terms of supervision, so that on school grounds anyway, that you know, bullying, violence from one student to another is prevented from happening because the supervision is there.
We have a lot in part of the, you know, the philosophy and everything structured in modern education is what is called SEL, social emotional learning, and is embedded into the lessons. So into the lessons about how to talk with friends. Every teacher tends to start the classes with in the morning with a circle, and in the circle we start with, how do you feel? I feel sad, I feel happy. It's okay to express your feelings, and how to create empathy between each other. Each school has something called what is the name of that? Peggy, I think you're here. What is the name of that program that comes from the YMCA that read books?
Oh, it's called Project Cornerstone, but not every
Project
school has
Cornerstone.
it. Bishop doesn't have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
Most schools do.
Oh, because it depends on parents volunteering coming.
We don't have volunteers for that.
Oh, okay. So that's another example of the programs that is, there is a program and it's taught by the YMCA, and it comes into the school, so the parents come and read specific books, and then after they read the book, they have some lessons about empathy and respect, and they change by level, so things that a preschooler can understand are different to the ones that an 8th grader can understand, but they are all with the same. They have messages, for example, and then these messages after the lesson. Oh, what do you think? How do you think so and so felt in the story? What if you were the kid on the right? What if you were the kid on the left? What would you do if you were in this position? So there are lessons specifically studied to create empathy and respect among each other. And those are the kind of programs that tend to be at schools. And, you know, then all the teachers have been having trainings for social emotional learning and circle time and talking positive. If you enter any of our classrooms during the open house, you see in the walls things like the kids put stickers. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel mad. It's okay to face your emotions, and there are ways to control your emotions. Now, every classroom in the district has something that is called a calming corner. So if the kid is overwhelmed or is not behaving, you can sit on a cushion in a corner or with a stuffed animal. Well, depending on which grade they are, they have different needs. If it's, again, a 1st grader, it's not going to be the same of an 8th grader, but they can go and sit and calm down and cool down if they are, you know, feeling mad or aggressive or something. And they then can talk about it with the classroom, and, you know, they're supposed to have to work on empathy and to work on, but, you know, it's an ongoing process. It's not something that you have, you know, a magic wand and it's going to be fixed forever. So it's something that it needs to be followed through, and it needs to be taken care from the adults. And the adults, everybody in the environment gets some training or help on how to treat kids, because every adult in the environment is, you know, is an adult, a responsible adult. So of course the teachers are the one, and the para educators are the one who gets most of this, but then you also need to teach, you know, the people in the front office how to talk to a child and how to see, you know, pay attention and observe what they're looking at.
Okay. So Gita had made a comment in the chat. I don't know if you saw this, that she's saying that 2 to 3 elementary schools in SESD have been identified as schools with below par performance, especially with respect to catering to the Hispanic special needs kids. And one of the issues is lack of identification of these needs among these kids. Do you know what we're doing to address the needs of all the kids within the school district?
Yeah, it has been an ongoing thing in the whole California. And we do have 4 Title I schools, which means that those are 4 schools that have more than 50% of the population that have a very low income, and they can get, well, before now everybody gets a free meal, but they can get free or reduced lunch. And those are issues that we are working, and we've been working in this. The whole state has been working with that, what to do with underperforming schools and what to do with a lot of these issues. One of them, we are studying that data. Tomorrow, we're going to be studying data again in our meeting, and we're going to be studying, we test the kids, we see where they are, we see exactly what everybody needs. We are doing everywhere around anti-racist, and not just equity, but anti-racist training for everybody to make sure that everybody's culturally aware, and we're trying to get the most sensible way to teach everybody depending of their needs. For example, right now we hire a group called Quetzal, and they've been doing a special gathering with children. We have this big conference that we study the kids in particular, and we are taking BIPOC kids And we are asking them exactly how they feel, how do they think their teachers see them, what exactly will make them feel more comfortable in the classroom. So we are going directly there. We have been for the last 2 or 3 years working specifically in reach absolutely every family. All our board meetings are being translated to Spanish online. And if you go there, you're gonna have a translator, each one of them, which other districts don't do around. We are also changing pretty much everything, trying to have as much as we can of outreach to families. We are now having, I think, 1 social worker, because now we used to have only social worker for Title Is because they were the ones who needed. But we were able to hire way more social workers now for every school. I think the only one that doesn't have one full-time is Cherry Chase and Cumberland, and I think they share one. We do have a psychologist in, and we have we work with Chuck, which is a consultant that brings counseling to the schools. And we are trying to find with them more counselors, children counselors in Spanish, which is very difficult to find. They are like unicorns, so, but we keep trying. We work with, well, we are really trying to change how everybody in the school treats families. And how everybody in the school treats the parents, because we know that if the parents are more involved, their kids will do better. But we've been trying to change and work with the curriculum. I think this is an ongoing effort for many years, but we've been doing more into equity, and we've been working more into approaching, because yes, our lower kids are the Hispanics, and that just not just here, and that's not an excuse, and that's why we're trying to help it, but everywhere in the state. But it just means that pretty much California doesn't know how to teach Hispanic kids. It's not the Hispanic kids who are behind, it's we who don't know how to teach them, and we need to make a better work. And in doing that, we've been working with all the research that we can find. We did a more exhaustive this year summer school, trying to make it catch up. We did have some kids that actually were able to raise up to a year in that 4 weeks, or half a year of academic life in half years. Not everybody did that, but we had our good cases. And during those classes, we do get, we partner with Stanford University. They have a great education program that they bring their alumni and their just graduate teachers, who end up most of the time being also our teachers, to do these summer jobs and to these summer programs. Last year was even better. It was great. We had tons of teachers who wanted to do it. So we had twice as many kids. This year, we couldn't find enough teachers. So we had to shorten the program, but still we were very intentional who bring and to call the families that were like to be more intentional with the kids who are behind. Also, we do have some, even though it's not everybody who is behind, but we do have transient population. We have a lot of kids who just been 2 weeks, 5 months, less than a year in the country. They never been in United States, and they just arrive in different situations. Some of them unaccompanied children, some of them with the whole families in a better situation, some of them in not such a good situation. And sometimes they stay with us, sometimes they move to a different town in the same Bay Area. So those children have different needs. And those children also need a lot of trauma, special teaching, and we do provide that. And we are even trying to make a better job with that, because, it's very difficult to find children therapists in Spanish. which are a lot of them need them. We do have kids that come from Ukraine and have been coming with histories of war, but not just from there, from everywhere around the world. And those are, in our Title I schools. And actually, those schools are the ones who get after school KLS. Which the other schools don't normally get, but they get other after school programs. But they get a daycare in the afternoon. And we are also now, is in the last few months, and now this year, we're gonna try to bring more learning opportunities in the afternoons to KLS, which is a program in the afternoons that we have, and is partially also paid, but not all, by the county and the state, because they are Title I schools, and then we give another part. But we're also gonna have our programs and curriculums in the afternoon, trying to support these kids that we still have them for a couple of more hours to see if they can catch up. So yes, it is a holistic approach, and we are aware of this. This is not something new, and we are not denying it. The numbers are out there. It is happening, and yes, it is part of our mission.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any last minute? Oh,
Rose has her hand.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
So for the parents of the bully, I know you mentioned about the parenting. If the bully keeps going on with the same kid, how do you discipline the parent? How often or how much do you discipline the kid, the bully and the parent? Because I know for the fact that they call unhoused kids hobo. The young kid that I helped, he left school and he was homeschooled because the kids are calling him hobo. That was the first time that I know what hobo means.
Well, then I don't know the particular case, but the idea is that if the teacher doesn't take care of that, then the teacher's boss is the principal, and she should take care of that and create a program appropriate for each case, depending of everything, of the needs of the classroom, of the environment. But that will go case by case, because not all kids are the same.
Yeah, but they need to
Yes.
discipline.
Yeah,
the
definitely. I'm
parents
sure
need to know, the
they
parents,
probably did. I don't know. I don't know the case.
the parents should be involved, or the bullies.
Yes, and they normally are. Yeah. That
okay.
is true.
So now I can't see any more hands up, Mike. Can you?
No, I just had a quick question about, are some of these kids living in vehicles?
Yes, and we normally don't get to know about them until the kids come out and tell us. But yes, because a lot of families prefer that than going to the Hamilton court. And another thing is that if some, well, not in the Hamilton court, but there are some places where if you have a teen that is a boy, who is a boy, they might not be able to stay in the same place with the family. So they try to separate it. So depending, people then are afraid of which place they're gonna send me, because then I might prefer to, to stay in the car, obviously, that to separate the family.
Okay, so thank you, Isabel, for coming back and sharing so much information with us. And when you get me the list of some talking points that we can send and who to send them to, I'm happy to get that out to our membership, and hopefully we can make a difference in these kids' lives. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. So next, we have our Vice Chair, Chuck Fraley, who is going to talk with us about the Climate Action Playbook. And this is kind of an introduction to city staff who will be coming and speaking to us next month about what is being called Game Plan 2028. So we wanted to just kind of get you aware of what's happening now, what the data is now, and if there are questions that you would like me to give to city staff before they present, then I'm happy to share those with them. So Chuck,
All right, well, yeah, could someone let me share the screen? All right. All right, yeah, so tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit about Sunnyvale's Climate Action Playbook. So in 2019, Sunnyvale adopted the Climate Action Playbook, and the main thing it does is it sets greenhouse gas emission targets for the city. So those targets, the goal is that by 2030, that we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions to 56% below what they were in 1990. And then by 2050, we reduce them further to 80% below what they were in 1990. Now, I'm not going to go through the details of the plan. In addition to just setting these targets, it goes into details about here are the actions and the things that the city's going to do to try and reach that. The city has actually a really good website on this, which is highlighted down below, and we can post that in chat later on. But if you're interested in kind of all the details about that, go to the website, kind of look through there, and then if you want even more, you can actually download the document, and it goes into even further detail beyond that. So yeah, so why are we talking about this? Yeah, kind of Agnes mentioned it briefly. Sunnyvale's working on a plan for what they're going to do over the next 5 years to try and reach these goals. And originally, yeah, it was supposed to come before council in kind of mid-October. It's been postponed. We think maybe November it might come up, but I don't think there's been a date specifically set for that. So prior to actually it coming before council, we wanted to look at just how are we doing so far in reaching these goals. And so this chart, so again, kind of all this data, pretty much everything I have in this presentation, I scraped off of Sunnyvale's website. So you can go there to if you want any more information on this. But this is a chart that they have that talks about how we've been doing since 2008. So what it shows is kind of from 2008 to 2014, all the way up to 2021, what is the total amount of greenhouse gas that's been emitted by Sunnyvale? And so the dark gray boxes up at the top are the greenhouse gases that are the result of transportation. The blue boxes are natural gas. The purple boxes are electric. And there are two of them for the natural gas and electric. One's commercial, one's residential. Then green is solid waste. And then there's kind of some other ones getting to the smaller numbers below that. And since 2008, we've actually done a really good job. You can kind of see here, like the main thing that you probably noticed is that the big purple block, which was the electricity, has gone down to almost nothing. And that reflects the adoption of Silicon Valley clean energy, which happened, I think, around sometime in 2016 is when they finally switched over. But that's been really successful at essentially eliminating the carbon emissions from the electricity that's used in Sunnyvale. Kind of one other interesting thing that I took away from this is kind of looking at the 2021 numbers. If you look at kind of the gray box, and then you look at the two blue boxes, which are the natural gas, those are pretty similar amounts of greenhouse gas that are emitted from transportation as compared to natural gas, which was, I found a little bit surprising. Like normally when you think about greenhouse gas, everyone's like, yeah, we've got to do something about auto emissions and take care of that. But the natural gas emissions are actually pretty much just as bad as transportation. They contribute just about as much to our overall greenhouse gas emissions as all the cars on the road as well. And so we've been doing a really good job since 2008. We want to dig into, well, how have we been doing since we adopted this climate action playbook? So when we started in 2019, when it was adopted, we were at about 26% below the 1990 levels. That kind of orange bar that goes across the screen is the kind of what was emitted in 1990, which is the baseline that's been used to set a lot of these. So in 2019, we're already 26% below that. And in 2021, we'd made some progress. We're down to 31% below that. So where did that reduction kind of over those 2 years come from? They've got another really good chart on that website that actually breaks down the usage into these different components. And so what this graph is the blue bars on here are what the emissions were in 2019. The orange bars are what they were in 2020, and the yellow ones are what they were in 2021. And then it divides it up into the different groups. There's transportation on the left, then commercial natural gas, residential natural gas, commercial electric, residential electric, solid waste, and off-road equipment. And kind of the big takeaway from this is that over the last 2 years, the main reductions that we've been able to get in greenhouse gas emissions have been from transportation, which is great that it's gone down. But kind of the unfortunate part is that's pretty much due to COVID. So in 2019, the emissions were high, then COVID came along and the emissions from transportation have gone way down. It would be really good to know what happened in 2022 and even what's been going on so far in 2023. I would suspect those numbers are back up a lot closer to where they were in 2019. So I'm not sure that we're able to sustain those reductions that we've gotten in transportation. But we need to kind of see the data to do that. The other ones, commercial natural gas has gone up a little bit. Residential gas is kind of slowly trending down, which is good to see. The electric is kind of slowly trending down, but not much. The kind of other interesting point of this is the off-road equipment, which is the one very far over on the right, has really gone up since 2019. And they talk a little bit about that on the webpage. The main reason for that seems to be all the construction that's going on. If you think of like what's been going on downtown and all these other large developments, it's actually causing quite a big increase in the emissions from off-road equipment. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't be doing the development. We need all the housing. We need all these things, but just the equipment they use, the diggers, the cement mixers, kind of all the equipment does emit greenhouse gases. So I think kind of the important kind of part of that is, well, we're gonna have to offset that somewhere else through reductions in transportation, natural gas, or something else. So kind of generally the high level summaries, if we keep going on the path that we've been on so far, so if you look at kind of where we are in 2021, we're slightly behind where we need to be in 2021. If we kind of keep going at the same rate as we have been, we're going to be slightly under what our targets are for 2030 and 2050. But the danger of that is actually most of the reduction we got in 2021 was from transportation. So it may be a little bit unlikely that we're actually able to sustain that. So we need to be kind of really ramping up the efforts to cut back on greenhouse gases. Now we do need the 2022 numbers, especially for the transportation, and ideally we get some numbers for 2023 just to see how things have been going. Just thinking about what it was like to drive on 101 in 2021. What traffic wasn't too bad on the highways back then, but if you go out on the highways these days, it seems a lot more like what it was before COVID. So I would expect the transportation numbers are a lot higher. And the other thing that I think would be really interesting to see when it comes before council, if they have this information, is, and then this is getting into kind of very much the details of how the program works, is the Climate Action Playbook actually defines all these plays, or basically what is the city going to do to reduce greenhouse gases. And I just took a little snapshot of some examples of one of those. One thing that they want to do is reduce energy consumption in existing buildings. So they've set targets that 5% of existing homes and businesses are going to get a deep energy retrofit by 2030. And they've set another target, which is 30% of homes and businesses are going to do one of those deep energy retrofits by 2050. It'd be very interesting to see how well the city is doing on each of these targets individually. What are we doing well? What do we still need to put some more effort in to get to where we need to be? All right, and so then we mentioned this before. The name of the project that the city's working on is called Game Plan 2028, which is kind of what we're going to do over the next 5 years to address this. The study session's been postponed. We'll send an email out when we kind of find out when that's going to be coming up again. The last update that we're actually able to find on this, the city's been working on this for a while. About a year and a half ago, they actually had a presentation to the Sustainability Commission on Game Plan 2028, and they listed out dozens of different ideas of things to do. So if you want to kind of dig into that, there's a link there that will actually take you to that Sustainability Commission meeting and the presentation they did that lists some of the ideas that they were looking at. All right, and that's all we had. Want to open up to see if people have any questions or any thoughts about the Climate Action Playbook. All right, I'll check the chat right quick.
Is there anything that anyone would want us to ask city staff to include in their presentation next month?
All right, so yeah, so then that's probably it then. Thanks.
Okay. Chuck, before you get off, did you want to talk about, I know Mike is going to talk next, but before you get off the screen, did you want to talk about the housing element update? While you're still sort of there?
Yeah, I can do a quick update that on that. The housing element came before city council. I think it was last week or the week before. So what's happened is the state housing and HCD has sent back a list of things that the city needs to address in the next version of the housing element that they submit. Staff presented their proposals for how to address all of HCD's comments. Most of it seemed pretty straightforward. The contentious issue is kind of what to do about the park fees. HCD wants the city to reduce the park fees, and there was a lot of discussion on that. And then there was also a lot of kind of a desire from a number of people to try and get this next version of the housing element done before the end of the year. On January 1st, there's a new set of penalties that kick in if cities don't have a compliant housing element. So there's also some discussion on really trying to kind of aggressively get this done before the end of the year.
That would be the plan. Anybody have any questions about the housing element? I think we've talked about this probably at every meeting for the last, 2 years, Chuck?
A lot.
All right. So now we're going to move on to Mike, and Mike's going to talk about an issue that he and others, Sunnyvale Citizens for Sensible Gun Measures, brought forth before council during public comment.
Right, we exactly. There were a number of us who were on the committee behind Measure C a number of years ago, which was a gun safety measure that was on the Sunnyvale ballot. It was overwhelmingly approved by the members. So recently there have been some other actions because unfortunately the mass shootings and gun violence have continued nationwide and even in our county. I mean, the VTA and Morgan Hill, the Gilroy Festival, and too many others to even comment on. But the specific request for the council was to, with respect to an ordinance like the one passed in San Jose a while back, requiring gun owners to have liability insurance for those guns. And that was passed in San Jose, and of course they were sued by some pro-gun organizations, but the courts withheld the insurance requirement for that measure, so validated that. There was a second part of it that was a requirement to for gun owners to give some amount of money, I forget, maybe $25 or some fee that would then go to a nonprofit. That is still in the courts. That was not a request we had for this. So it's strictly a request for, so our specific request is to just put it on the agenda so the city council can discuss it. And obviously, the intent is that the city could essentially use almost exactly what San Jose has done, since it's validated by the courts, and require gun owners to. So the requirement is very straightforward. If you own a gun, you have to fill out a form where you simply state under penalty of perjury that you have insurance. You don't send it to anybody, but you do have to have a copy of it with you. And then if asked, present that copy. We did kind of a survey of our own homeowners insurance, and most homeowners insurance already covers this. But some of them require a rider, but there may be people who don't have homeowners insurance, or you know, maybe in a possibly an apartment or something that doesn't have you know, so they don't have that kind of insurance. So it's a fairly straightforward thing. Now, one thing one of our members talked to Sam Liccardo, was mayor of San Jose when they passed this, and he pointed out this is a tool, an extra tool for law enforcement or public safety to use. You know, if you since the Supreme Court has negated many restrictions on carrying a gun, basically open carry is legal everywhere. They can ask to see this attestation of insurance, just the same way that you are required to have insurance for a car. This is something that, or a driver's license. This is something they can ask for. So it gives them a tool. Otherwise, they can be sort of helpless. And this also applies very strongly to domestic violence cases. They go to a home, there's guns there, there's, you know, so neighbors have called or something, and unfortunately, there isn't much they can do because the guns are potentially legal. So anyway, that's the request, and so the next step is to get it on an agenda where it can be discussed. We felt this was simple enough that it did not require a study issue, since it's been already done in San Jose, and it's a very straightforward kind of requirement. They have a form you can print out and fill out in your home. Again, you don't need to send it to anyone, so it doesn't take any staff time or anything like that. And without the requirement for the nonprofit, which made it a lot more complicated, that's it, really, just a requirement for insurance, the same way you have requirement for insurance for many other things. And there's no question there's plenty of potential harm that can be done to the community. That's why you have liability insurance on your car, right? Because you can run into somebody and do a lot of damage, and then you say, well, I don't have any money, I'm not going to pay for it. So, and essentially we're all paying for this now. If it's not separated out, we're all paying for the costs of those gun actions. And you know, the biggest example of gun violence is suicides. So more so than anything else. So it's a major issue. So that's where we are with that.
Anybody have any questions for Mike on this?
Chuck?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Kind of eventually, much later on in the process, this is an ordinance just council could adopt, right?
Yes.
So this would not be like Measure C where we'd have to vote on it.
That's right. I mean, that is a potential other path that could be taken, but the request is for council to just directly enact an ordinance.
Mhm. Yeah, I think if this gets on an agenda, we should probably send a notice out to our members to come and share their thoughts. Yeah,
Right, right.
okay. Anybody else have anything you would like to, either comments for Mike or questions? Okay, well, we can close the meeting out unless somebody else wants to add something before we do. Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and it was nice seeing you again. Bye. Have a nice night.